lie down on the floor. Let's do a quick scan. Let's do a brief scan and feel how we feel lying down. Feel how we feel lying down. So you can have your legs long. You can have your knees drawn up and your feet standing. You can have one leg long and the other foot standing. So you do whatever is comfortable for you. You do whatever is comfortable for you. And you can have a pillow behind your neck if you like that. But you lay yourself out on the floor and feel what's supporting you. Feel how the ground supports you and where it supports you. So if your legs are long, you'll feel your heels on the floor. If your feet are standing, you'll feel the soles of your feet on the floor. If your legs are long, you might notice that one leg is feels a little longer than the other, or it might feel a little lighter or heavier or more turned out to the side or more pointed up towards the ceiling. Sometimes the leg will rotate inwards and the toes will point towards the midline. So you can just notice what it is for you. And then you can notice your pelvis resting on whatever surface you're resting on. Then the lower back, does your lower back touch the surface you're resting on, or is there a space underneath there? Your ribs, your shoulder blades, your head, where you've got your arms placed, if the palms are up or down. Start to notice these little details. Where do you look with your eyes? They open or are they closed? And then go ahead and close your eyes if they're open and just observe your breathing. Just observe your breath. Notice what moves when you breathe in. Does your belly swell? Does your rib cage expand? Can you let go a little more into the surface you're resting on each time you exhale? Just let the tension sift and fall into the ground, into the couch, into your mat. And then you can check in with how comfortable is your neck? How comfortable is your neck? You could roll your head a little to the right, a little to the left. Not to see how far it turns, but just to find out, where is it comfortable? Is it the same on both sides? Why does one side feel so good and the other side not so good? Why is that? Maybe. And then stand up your feet and balance your knees. Find a space where your knees are balanced. And they're apart, but they're balanced. And then let your knees drift a little bit to the right and come back to the middle. So your knees just go a little bit over to the right and come back to the middle. And you can notice that the weight of your legs draws your pelvis over to the right as well. And whatever you've got going on in your body, You adapt these movements to your comfort level. So sometimes that means not moving, and sometimes that means that you imagine the movement. If for any reason you're constrained, you can just imagine the movement, which is very, very powerful, but not so easy to do at first. So just notice as your knees drift over to the right and come back to the middle, are there other places that would like to come with you? Like your head. Can you feel more weight coming onto the right side of the torso, the right shoulder blade? You might feel the left shoulder blade getting lighter. And you go very slowly over and you come very slowly back. And a really nice rhythm to do any of these movements is together with your breathing. Together with your breathing. So you inhale as you let the knees tilt over to one side. Exhale as they come back. Maybe that works for you. Or you can exhale as you lower the knees and inhale as you bring them back. That's also interesting to observe how that works. And then come back to the middle, wherever you are, bring your knees back to the middle. And if it's comfortable, lengthen down your legs and feel if you have a different contact somehow. If something feels different on your right side, different on your left side. Or maybe your breathing has changed a little bit. And stand up your feet again. Stand up your feet again and let your knees drift over to the left. Let your knees drift over to the left and let the weight of the legs be what draws your other skeletal parts. So the weight of the legs can draw the pelvis a little bit, maybe not. The torso can get a little more weight on the right side. Right, good girl, Barbara. If you feel discomfort anywhere, you do less, or you put a pillow somewhere, or you just make yourself as comfortable as you can, because we're working with the brain, and the brain is the nervous system, and we can't learn anything when we're guarding and in pain. So we want the brain to be receptive to these changes, which it can't be when it's busy guarding and protecting you. That's its job, to keep you safe. And you can notice if your head wants to turn right or left, or maybe not at all. Where do your eyes go? Do your eyes look at your knees? Do they look in the room? Even if they're closed, where do your eyes look? Very nice, very nice. Nice pace, nice pace. Everyone, lengthen down your legs and take another rest and notice what you notice. Maybe your breathing has changed a little bit. Oh, I can see belly's swelling with a little more fullness in new places. It's good. It's good. So now stand up your feet again and find a place where you can balance your knees without having to work to keep them there. And now bring your arms into this strange position that I showed you earlier, which is, if possible, the elbows straight out from your shoulder girdle. So straight out to the right and to the left. And the fingertips pointing up towards the ceiling, which means the elbows will be bent at right angles. And the fingertips up towards the ceiling, like you have candles on all of your fingertips. And then just lower both your palms towards the floor. So we're lowering the arms like levers. Lowering the arms like levers. And the palms go towards the floor. And how far do they go before they stop? For some people, they'll just land on the floor, boom. For other people, only the fingertips will touch the floor. For other people, the arm won't move very far. Arm won't move very far. So I'm going to give slightly different instructions to Ginger, which is to interlace your fingers. Actually, let's all do this. Let's interlace our fingers and bring our hands behind the head. And bring your elbows so they come up towards the ceiling. And with the help of your arms and hands, lift your head and your face to look forwards in the direction of your knees. Your feet are standing and your knees are bent, and you're rounding your spine and you're looking. And can you bring perhaps part of the chest away from the floor, the shoulders away from the floor? So it's a bit of a curl up, but not forcing anything. Just how high can you lift the head? Can you lift the upper part of your spine away from the floor easily? Easily. And then bring your arms out again to the sides. The fingertips are up towards the ceiling. And now bring both your palms down towards the floor like levers as you lift your head and look forward at your knees. So you lift your face and you bring your arms down as you lift your head. So the movement of the arms and the head are together. It's as though the head lifting helps the arms go down easier. And then you come back and you lay the head down and you bring the fingertips up towards the ceiling. Yes. And do that a number of times as you breathe out in your own timing. And you can pause and rest in between as long as you need. And you don't have to do it many, many, many times. You can do it 3, 4 times. But notice, can you make it easier for yourself each time? Can you make it simpler each time? Not bigger, not further, simpler and more comfortable and easier for yourself. The palms going down towards the floor as you lift the head. So the head and the palms go forward and down together. So as your palms go down, you lift your head, like follow your nose. Your nose follows your hands. There you go. Aha. So it's like your chest has a hinge. Yes, your chest has a hinge. And just make it easier and better and simpler each time. You can help with your feet. You can turn the pelvis so that the pubic bone turns to look at your nose. Maybe that makes a change. Yes, there we go. There we go. The palms do not have to touch the floor. They do not have to touch the floor. It's a lot of work to lift the head. A lot of work to lift the head. It's very heavy. The neck muscles. Okay, so rest your arms, rest your legs. Rest your arms and rest your legs. Notice your breathing, notice your contact. And if you're observing, you can imagine doing the movements as you follow. And that also does something. That also does something. You can do it internally without actually doing it, just observing someone. You know how you feel so much better. You feel somehow wonderful after watching Olympic athletes because they move so well. They move so gracefully and with such power and finesse. And we love that because our mirror neurons, they get involved and it changes us a little bit. Changes us a little bit. We're more connected to each other than we realize. Even over Zoom, even over great distances. Go ahead and stand up your feet again. And bring your arms into this candelabra shape. And simply lower your palms towards the floor and see if it's gotten a little easier, a little simpler, without lifting the head. Maybe it's a little easier, a little simpler. Maybe. Maybe. Okay, so now with your arms, the candelabras, your fingertips pointing towards the ceiling again. So the forearms are vertical and your feet are standing. Can you lower your palms towards the floor behind you? So the backs of your hands are going to go towards the floor like you're very surprised, or like a cop just shoved a gun in your face and said, stick them up. So your arms out to the side as comfortably as that is for you. And the backs of the hands go backwards towards your head. The backs of your hands go backwards towards the floor, and the hands would be on either side of your head. They might touch the floor, they might not. One arm might touch the floor, the other might be 100 miles away from it. It might feel like to you. So you just lower the palms backwards, the backs of the hands, so the palms will be facing the ceiling, and then you come back. And you do it with your breath, very slowly, very smoothly. What happens in your chest? What happens in your back? As we're turning the upper arm now differently in the shoulder joint. You can probably feel that. If you take your palms once downwards towards the floor, as we were doing earlier, just take them downwards towards the floor once, downwards towards your feet, and then bring them both up and bring them both backwards towards your head, like you're pressing down a lever with your palms, and then the hands come up, and then you go the other direction, back and forth, and you can pay attention to what's happening with the arm and the shoulder joint. You treat each arm as an individual arm. So if let's say your left arm doesn't go very far back, but your right arm goes a lot back, make your right arm only go as far as the left one goes. So defer to the side that's more constricted. Don't try, usually we try to make the side catch up to the side that's more flexible. No, here we do the opposite. So the palms are moving together. They're friends, they're brothers, they're sisters, they're related. They come up together, they go down together, they follow each other. And you listen, and you treat yourself very well. And you can listen to what you feel in your back, what you feel in your shoulders, your ribs. You might even feel this all the way to your feet. You might. You might feel something in the neck, in the tail, your tailbone. which we've probably all fallen on at some point and bruised. Okay, wherever you're at, just take a rest. You can lengthen down your legs. If that's comfortable, you can leave them drawn up. If that's comfortable, take a rest and notice what's your breathing. What's your chest, your shoulder blades? Ah, even more swelling in the belly. Good. More oxygen. Good. Maybe there's a little more of your back on the floor in certain places, or maybe if you're sitting, you just feel more comfortable sitting. Has it done anything for your neck? If you turn your head to look right a little, to look left a little, is it a little more comfortable in your neck? Maybe you don't see further, maybe it doesn't turn further, but it's more comfortable, softer, simpler. Okay, bring your face to the middle. Stand up your feet again. Find that sweet spot where the knees balance over the feet. And can you use your feet, push your feet into the floor and lift your pelvis away from the floor a bit? So the pelvis will turn under, the pubic bone will turn under. Oops, cramp. Yeah, if you get a cramp, then stop. And you can just lift the pelvis a little bit. Doesn't have to lift a foot away from the floor. Just lifting the tail. Just lightening the contact of the pelvis away from the floor. And you go up as far as is comfortable, then you come back down with your breath. It's no race to get anywhere. We're just mindfully lifting our pelvis, feeling how it turns under, how you get heavier towards the belt line. Perhaps the belt line lifts away from the couch, lifts away from the floor. And you can bring the weight of the body a little more towards the shoulders. And there's so many things to listen to here. So when we have a dysfunctional side, we all have one, usually that foot or leg will not press the same into the floor as the other one. So that's an interesting thing to observe. Ah, the side that's not so comfortable, that has some dysfunction or pain, might kind of be offline. So you can play with the pressure through the feet. And as long as what you do is comfortable, your system is still learning. So if your leg or foot has been offline for a long time, it takes a time for it to remember, but it doesn't take very long. It just has to experience itself. But what makes this work important is that you are observing yourself, experiencing yourself. You are observing your own experience, which is unique to you. So only you can make the correction. Nobody outside of you can make that correction because they don't know how you feel. So you're in control. You can lift as high as you want. You can lift as often as you like. You can breathe as you like. Just make sure you're breathing. You can play around with where do you look with your eyes, what do you do with your head, and you just work at making it a little simpler, a little easier each time. You can think of your vertebrae. I'm just getting a message that my internet is unstable. So since we've been lifting the pelvis for a little while, go ahead and take a rest. I'm going to hardwire my system. As you're resting and as I'm plugging in cords, notice your breathing, notice your contact, what has changed after lifting your pelvis. What has changed after lifting your pelvis? What's different about your contact with the floor? Let's stand our feet again and see if this made any difference with how the arms operate in the shoulder girdle. So bring your arms out to that comfortable place out to the side with your forearms bent at right angles and the fingertips up towards the ceiling. And lower your arms down towards the floor, your hands down towards the floor, palms down, pressing down those imaginary levers, which are very light. And then bring them back up and pass through that vertical place and let the backs of the hands continue backwards towards the floor and see if that feels different in your chest or your shoulders or your shoulder blades or your neck or your feet or your tail. Just go back and forth like your arms are floating, like they're moving through a liquid, like water. There's a little resistance, but it's very even. It's a little resistance moving through the water. It supports you, but it gives you something to press through that you can feel, that you can sense, that's different than the air, which we're sort of blind, just sensing the air. You can imagine moving through water. Or what if you imagine now moving your arms, continuing another time or two, but moving them through honey? What would that do to change the sense of movement? If you move your arm, you're pressing through something a little thicker than water, like honey. What does that change for you? Does it highlight anything? Does it make you aware of something you weren't aware of before? Bring your arms down. Take a rest with your arms and take a rest with your legs. Whatever that means for you. You can keep your feet standing if that's more comfortable. Observe your breath. Observe the sensations. Observe if your legs have changed their disposition from the beginning of the class, the lesson. If you roll your head a little to the right, a little to the left, what's the quality? If your eyes are open, is there a softer gaze? Do you have a softer gaze? Soft gaze equals a softer movement. Equals smoother movement equals a more pleasing movement. Bring your knees up again and stand your feet. And let's tilt the knees a little to the right and a little to the left again and just feel if that feels any different. In the same, and tilt them in the same way like you're moving through honey. Like you're moving through honey over, so the movement is evenly distributed through the legs, through the belly, through the chest, through the head and the neck. Moving the knees through honey. The head can turn with the knees. The head can turn opposite the knees. It's different. You can discover for yourself, how is it different if you turn the head with the knees through the honey or away from the knees through the honey? Ah, yes, very nice. Okay, leave your knees standing and bring your hands into your candelabras again. And let the palms go down towards the floor as you lift the face and look forwards towards the knees. Lift the face, the head, look forward towards the knees. So you find that hinge. There's like a hinge. You can press the feet, you can move the pelvis and roll it under. You can press the belt line into the floor. These things might help the head find its way. And now the next time you lay the head down and bring the fingertips vertical, keep going back towards the head with the backs of the hands aiming towards the floor, but lift the pelvis away from the floor. Lift the pelvis away from the floor. The pelvis is chasing your hands. So your pelvis is chasing your hands as they move away from the pelvis. And then as you lower the pelvis, you bring the hands to vertical and you lift the head as the palms go down towards the floor. Oh my God. And yes, and then you find a way to connect the two ends so that as the head lowers, the pelvis is starting to lighten and lift. And as the pelvis lowers, the head starts to lighten and lift. And these arm levers help you tap into your upper spine, your shoulder girdle, and this imaginary hinge that we have where the bra line is, below the boobs. And find a way to connect this, connect the two ends. And one way to do that is to imagine moving through something thick like honey and to roll your spine into the floor. So you use power in the legs and feet to lift the pelvis. And of course, you have to use power and strength in the chest and belly to lift the head, but you use it intelligently. You use it very sensitively. And you just, if you're striving for anything, strive for making it simpler, more pleasant, easier, clearer. Sometimes pausing and imagining yourself doing it. You can even, if you're very good at visualization, you can imagine standing outside of yourself and observing yourself doing it in just the way you would like to do it. You can stop moving altogether and just imagine yourself. You're watching yourself like on a television. And you're seeing your pelvis lift and your arms go and your hands go down and your head lift, and you can observe it. How would you like to do it? What could you imagine? Because the clearer the picture is in your mind, the clearer the picture is in the body, and the clearer the action is in the body. So when we have dysfunction, it's like the screen gets fuzzy. When we have pain, the screen gets fuzzy. So we want things to get cleared up. See a clear, clean image of yourself moving as you would like to move without moving. But you might notice that as you imagine yourself moving as an outside observer, that you might notice if you start to tune into your kinesthetic self, your feeling self, that you are starting to, little tiny muscles are starting to fire here and there. Because you really can't not move if you're imagining moving. Yeah, you can just place your arms in that candelabra position and imagine it, and then do the movement. After you've imagined it a few times, do the movement and see if it's clearer. It's like you step into the imagined event. You step into it. So cannot stress enough the power of the mind, the power of your imagination is really, it's our brain's our most powerful tool, most powerful part of ourselves, besides our heart. Take a rest and let your brain and your heart sort of talk to each other. There's a resonance. Brain and the heart. And sense your self in whatever position you're in, sitting or lying down. Just come back to your physical self, sensing your environment, sensing your breathing, the movement from your breathing, your spine, your legs, your circulation, your chi, your blood. You can roll your head or turn your face and look to the right, to the left. And then just rest and enjoy what you might be sensing, what you might be enjoying. You can change your position if you need to, rest on your side if you need to. But take note of the comfort, take note of the places that have changed. Take note. Because it's this internal note taking that helps the lesson stick. And if you're so inclined, you can roll to your side and bring yourself up to sitting and up to standing, but in the most comfortable way. The most comfortable way, the most agreeable way. And simply bring yourself up in a very simple way and stand very simply. And just notice if something about your standing Or observe yourself on your journey upwards. How smooth. Can you come up without disturbing this sense of comfort or peace or easy breathing? Bring yourself up. Bring yourself up and stand. And you can close your eyes or you can leave them open, but sense yourself. Sense yourself. It's the weight on your feet, your legs supporting you, your pelvis supporting you, your spine supporting you, and your head balanced on top, your arms hanging and your ribs hanging off your spine, and your breathing happening all by itself, and your heart beating all by itself, resonating, your heart and your brain, your body and your soul. Just quietly observe.